This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. People who live and spend time in and around the proposed location for Manitoba's first supervised consumption site are concerned about a lack of consultation. The decision to put it at 200 Disraeli was revealed through an application to Health Canada. It was made by the Aboriginal Health and Wellness Centre, which will run the site. As CBC's Josh Crabb reports, the location of a nearby school is among the concerns.
Carly Anderson's daughter is in grade 12 at Argyle Alternative High School. It's located across the Disraeli Freeway from the building selected to house a supervised consumption site. The school division was informed, but the decision to put it here isn't sitting well with Anderson, who also lives in nearby North Point Douglas.
Well, I'm very disappointed that they haven't sat down with the community as a whole. We do have many concerns.
The site would provide a place where people can go to inject their own drugs in the presence of trained staff and access healthcare, mental health support, and long-term addictions treatment. Anderson isn't against the concept of a supervised consumption site, but worries about the impact on the neighborhood.
So what does that mean for the public? What will they be seeing?
A family physician specializing in addictions treatment says it's normal for people to be worried about a rise in violence, loitering, and needles on the ground. Dr. Jeanette Poulin argues it'll have the opposite effect.
We don't see an increase in violence in those areas because people are connected into care and connected to treatment.
The goal of this site and others like it is to prevent accidental overdoses and save lives, something area resident Brad Schultz supports.
I'm okay with it. I think with all the toxic substances that are out there now, I think it's a good idea.
Any stakeholder within 500 meters of a consumption site has to be consulted under federal rules. Stephanie Kazar, a council member for this nearby church within that range, wishes they would have been talked to before the decision was announced.
The location isn't a surprise to the church council. What was a surprise was that we were not consulted.
Manitoba's Minister of Housing, Addictions and Homelessness says the site won't open until it's safe and secure. Bernadette Smith says there will be more police and community safety patrols and a fence put around the building, and she says consultations with the community are continuing. Manitoba's application to Health Canada to open the site is in the screening stage. It's unclear how long it will take before a decision comes. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Portage La Prairie woman who was killed in a double homicide last week has been identified by her family. She's being remembered as a caring and fun mother and friend. The CBC's Rosanna Hempel reports.
Emily Smoke's family and friends say she was awesome to be around. She loved to dance and loved music, including Bob Marley. Smoke's mother, Laurette Francoeur, says her daughter loved her kids.
She was close with her children. She was a very good mom. They go on outings together, go spend weekends somewhere else, out of town somewhere.
Smoke's cousin Miranda Francoeur says their family wants justice for Smoke. The 37-year-old mother was killed in Portage La Prairie on Sunday, along with her 42-year-old boyfriend. Manitoba RCMP say they were called to this home on Oak Bay around 10:30 that night. Mounties say the couple was found dead inside. CBC News isn't identifying the male victim at this time. Earlier this week, police said he was active in the drug trade and had a criminal history.
We don't believe this is to be random. The individuals were, or the male for sure, would have been targeted. And that's what, like I say, the investigation now is going to focus on, is identifying this person and getting them into custody.
Laurette says she last saw her daughter in early November. Smoke had left to visit her boyfriend on Oak Bay in Portage La Prairie. Police say they continue to investigate. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A new home in downtown Brandon gives women 24/7 access to a safe space. Franny's Place provides Indigenous women, Two-Spirit and gender-diverse people at risk of harm a community where they can heal. CBC's Chelsea Kemp has the story.
But it wasn't ready because it's a new poster that I have. Francine Demas was a bold and courageous protector of her friends and family. Known as Franny by loved ones, she lived on Brandon's streets for years. Demas briefly lived in transitional housing before dying due to illness last December at the age of 41. Priscilla Ireland says women like her daughter need a safe place.
You know, we walk around or we go downtown and we see young women struggling on the streets, and these are First Nations young women, and my heart goes out to them when I see them struggling like that, and I think of my own late daughter.
The province is spending $500,000 on a 3-story safe home for women, dubbed Franny's Place. It's for Indigenous women, Two-Spirit, and gender-diverse people at risk of harm. It's run by Housing First and has 7 rooms and 8 shelter beds.
These are people that have been lost, that have a lot of trauma, that have histories, that have passions, and are still able to do things if given the opportunity to, right? They just need a safe space that they can start to build up that rapport.
Franny's Place will offer Indigenous and culturally based security, support, and mentorship. Tanya Longclaws plans on moving into the 3rd floor of the house.
Well, it's just the girls. I mean, like the other women help me get through things, I guess.
Ireland says Franny's Place can be a new beginning for everyone involved. She wants it to give other women struggling with homelessness and addiction hope in the future.
I don't know, when I first walked in here, I just felt like a warmth come over me, and I felt like this would be the ideal place that she would love to come and hang out. Like, she would have loved this. This is, you know, a beautiful house.
Vandeham says Franny's Place is an extension of their previous safe space project, Chelsea's House. It opened in May of this year and has already helped 12 women out of homelessness. Chelsea Kemp, CBC News, Brandon.
People in Birdtail Sioux First Nation are celebrating the return of bison to their community. The 11-head herd was gifted by Sioux Valley Dakota Nation. The group includes a young white female buffalo. Chelsea Kemp was there as the community welcomed their new additions.
That song, it talks about the Buffalo Nation dancing. Those young cows came out charging. It kind of like just did exactly what that song needed to do. It talks about like this, the spirit of those buffalo, the strength that they have, the courage that all transpires to everyone.
They taught us something right off the bat. So when the buffalo came out, one of them fell down and picked themselves up again. So that's showing our young kids, if you fall down, pick yourselves up again. It's gonna help them, but we also have to help our young kids to understand that process of helping yourselves and then helping your family, helping your community.
We were looking for different strategies to address some of the issues that we're facing, and so I thought with the ceremonies and our connection to the buffalo, this is just one more tool that leadership can use to help bring our kids back to focus on the stuff that matters and getting in touch with their culture. There's 11 here. We weren't too sure about the white one until we checked this morning, and it is a female. So the female white buffalo is central to our white buffalo calf story that our people have grounded themselves in following the ceremonies and the teachings.
That would be nice to have a white buffalo here because I know they're important. Honestly, I just like seeing them around. I know Sioux Valley has some inside their reserve, and I've seen some went on a buffalo hunt before, and they're beautiful animals, I'd say.
As Dakota groups, we need to establish a group in every community because I think that's the missing piece, and I hope that more leadership take the approach to start something like this.
Seeing them back, being able to learn with them again, there's no words for it.
Spring and weather specialist Riley Lachuk. And Riley, looking at that video, it looked really chilly out there.
Yeah, and you know what? We're through the cold air for now, Brittany, but we do have a warm-up on the way, and the trade-off is we'll get some precipitation moving across the province. Pretty much, no matter where you are in the province, we're going to get some precipitation over the next few days, which I'll get into. Daytime high temperatures today, these will actually change because we're looking at temperatures rising as we get through the overnight period tonight. So, as expected, we did have an afternoon temperature around -13 in Winnipeg today. A mix of sun and clouds, and yes, as forecast, that cloud deck has started to build in as we got through the afternoon hours today. This part of an area of low pressure that is skirting across northeastern Manitoba into northwestern Ontario, bringing a few slim scattered flurries around the Lake Winnipeg region. Could see some of those overnight tonight in the Winnipeg region. Our temperature rises to -9 by the time we get to first thing tomorrow morning. Our winds continue to back off as we get through the overnight period tonight. A light wind tomorrow morning, -9 first thing, -6 by the afternoon. A mix of sun and clouds once again. Temperatures keep rising from here, Brittany. We'll talk about that and the snow when I come back in about 10 minutes.
More snow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
We need to take a quick break. We'll have more local news when we come back, including how the province wants to make drunk driving laws tougher. Stay with us. The Manitoba government has introduced new legislation that goes after impaired drivers, but only those drivers convicted of causing serious harms while behind the wheel. For more, we're joined by the CBC's Ian Fraze. So Ian, what are these new penalties?
It would be a lifetime ban from driving, but those impacted by this new law would likely only be a small group of people. This impacts repeat offenders, convicted a second time of impaired driving or a refusal offense that causes bodily harm or death. If they're convicted twice within 10 years, they can never drive in Manitoba again. The current penalty for that is a 10-year ban from driving. The Justice Minister says the government is sending a message.
If somebody is a chronic offender and in the terrible tragedy where somebody would have caused bodily harm or death more than once, that it's really time to say enough is enough and no more. Your right to drive has been taken away, and this is a serious penalty because of that.
So, Ian, this is the time of year where people are going out to holiday parties and having drinks. So, what was the message from the organization fighting to end drunk driving?
Well, the group was quite happy. Here's Tanya Hansen-Pratt, president of MAD Canada. That's Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
We recognize that there is no one single piece of legislation that will solve impaired driving. And we welcome the government taking steps to deal with those offenders who cause the most serious harm.
Finally, this was the last day of question period before the holidays, but it did not end in a jolly good mood. Speaker Tom Lindsay scolded both parties for their behavior. The PC's Grant Jackson said that Minister Tracy Smith accosted a PC MLA, pointing her finger at him. But Smith said she was just responding to the Tory MLA saying something inappropriate. Now, neither party would say what was said or even the name of the PC MLA. Brittany.
All right, thanks, Ian. That's CBC's Ian Fraze. A Winnipeg cycling advocate says there's still reason for hope after a disappointing vote at City Hall yesterday. Dozens of people spoke at the Executive Policy Committee meeting. They urged the mayor and his inner circle to approve a proposal to lower the speed limit on Wellington Crescent to 30 kilometers per hour. The committee voted 3-2 against the proposal. Bike Winnipeg hopes there may be a way to save it during the final vote at Council.
It's up to us to make the case that the changes that we're asking for really aren't that massive. And really with 30K, what we're asking is that we can reduce some of the speeds to something that's closer to what a person on a bike would be doing.
The committee did approve a motion for staff to come up with interim solutions to improve bike safety until a separated bike lane is built. A new report says food prices in Canada are likely to rise next year. The study by 4 universities is forecasting an increase of 3 to 5%. Anis Hadari looks at what's behind the possible hike.
Grocery shopping is still getting more expensive.
Families really have a hard time cooking now in an affordable way.
You just learn how to buy things in like the large quantity when they go on sale.
I kind of have to pay it. You know, I have a family of 4.
And that family of 4 could pay up to $800 more to eat next year. That's according to the latest food price report from several Canadian universities. Overall, food prices are estimated to go up by 3 to 5% in 2025. Beef tops the list, projected to go up by 4 to 6%. Vegetables close behind, up to 5% more expensive.
We're a little bit unpleased with it being $149.
This produce wholesaler in Calgary says his customers notice rising prices.
It's part of the business, right? So stuff we used to sell for $5 10 years ago is now $10, and stuff we used to sell for $1.99 is now $3.99 or $2.99. Like, things naturally are going up. Everybody understands it.
The food report's own data also shows last year wasn't as bad as some expected.
Cyclical right now. In fact, I mean, a lot of people didn't feel it, but in 2024 was actually a bit of a break year compared to the last few years.
That may not continue, especially for veggies.
And that's due to climate change. It's due to currency fluctuations, and that's the one thing we're expecting in 2025. A weaker dollar is likely going to impact our grocers' buying power.
But even with the projected jump in prices, this wholesaler thinks it'll be okay.
3 to 5%, again, we can live with that too. That's actually kind of, it's positive news that it's not jumping up 10, 15, 20% like it was before.
Small potatoes compared to years past. Anis Haydari, CBC News, Calgary.
Grocery shopping can sure be expensive. So as we think about the cost of food, we also think about those who use food banks to get by.
Tomorrow, CBC will once again host our Make the Season Kind event. Every year, we partner with Harvest Manitoba to bring you musical performances and special guests.
It's really all an effort to support the work being done to help put food on the tables of Manitobans in need. Now, the event runs all day. You can listen to CBC Information Radio, Radio Noon, and Up to Speed, or find it on our CBC Manitoba YouTube page.
And of course, we will bring you some of the highlights here on our show.
Yes.
At 6 tomorrow evening.
Hopefully people are staying inside, toasty warm while they're listening to that.
Yes, exactly. It'll make you feel warm at
right?
least.
Exactly. Well, that's what we need.
Yeah, especially since we do have some snow on the way. We'll get right into it because there is quite a bit to talk about tonight. So I was talking about that chance of flurries that we have through the Red River Valley tonight. That's all part of this weak instability, area of instability that is moving through northeastern Manitoba now down through northwestern Ontario as we get through the evening hours. So again, that brings us a slight chance of a flurry here in Winnipeg through the late evening, the best chance for that into the white shell as we get through into the overnight period. Behind that, cloud builds in as we get into Friday, a mix of sun and clouds. Then here comes the next one, an area of low pressure out of Saskatchewan along a warm front. This pushes through as we get through the day on Friday across northern Manitoba. And along this warm front comes a pretty widespread chance of some freezing rain, really Grand Rapids and south into the Red River Valley as we get into the early part of Saturday. It doesn't mean this is exactly where we're going to see some freezing rain, but just indicating that this is the best area that we have of that developing, because temperatures will rise, and even as we get into Saturday, pretty close to the freezing mark even through the early part of Saturday morning. So again, that chance into Saturday of some freezing rain north and east of that line into northeastern Manitoba, another snow event down into northwestern Ontario. That clears out as we get through the day on Saturday, leaving behind a mix of sun and clouds again. Then comes the next one, which is an Alberta clipper that will cross across the southern prairies as we get through the day on Sunday into Manitoba. So even by 6 o'clock in the morning, we are looking at some snow starting in the Westman region. And again, a risk of some freezing rain as that warm front makes its way eastward through Manitoba into northwestern Ontario through the day Sunday into Monday. So up to Sunday midnight, a general 10 to 15 centimeters yet to come through northern Manitoba, taking into account what is going to fall over the next couple of days. And I'm saying right now a general 5 to 10 centimeters from this Alberta clipper as it moves across the province Sunday into Monday. A little far out for that yet. We'll check back in tomorrow and see how the model runs have changed between now and then. Wake up temperatures, we will see temperatures rising through the overnight hours across southern Manitoba. So by the morning, -5 in Melita, -7 in Brandon, but still -24, 25 degrees through parts of northern Manitoba. And our temperatures in the south continue to rise around -6 tomorrow in Winnipeg, up to 2 degrees on Saturday with a mix of sun and clouds in Brittany. There's that snow as we get Sunday into Monday, and along with that, some gusty winds into Monday.
But now 2 days without minuses in front.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, there's more news ahead. We're back right after this. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Stay with us. The suspect who gunned down an insurance executive in New York yesterday remains on the loose. But police now say they have more clues, including words etched on the bullet casings. Chris Reyes is in New York.
The New York Police Department has released new photos of a suspect wanted in the shooting death of Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare. Thompson was gunned down in Midtown Manhattan Wednesday morning outside a hotel where he was about to address investors. The shooting was captured on surveillance video. Police say the shooting appeared to be targeted and premeditated. A former NYPD captain says the video offers clues about the suspect.
His stance, the way he holds the gun, it shows he has some training. He's been to a gun range, I'd say. He knows how to clear a jam. The gun did jam.
Police have also confirmed reports that the words deny, defend, and depose were written on the bullet casings left at the scene. That could be a reference to tactics insurance companies have been accused of using against client claims. Andrew McCabe is a former FBI deputy director. He said the words could offer clues about the suspect's motive.
This person had some sort of personal connection to this killing. So this is probably less likely to be someone who was hired to do this and more likely was committed by someone who is emotionally or specifically invested in the act.
Police have traced the suspect's steps, including a stop at a coffee shop and a hostel where he may have been staying and where this photo was taken. The massive manhunt has activated the entire NYPD, the largest police force in the U.S., with some 35,000 police officers. Manhattan is not very big. It's about the size of Victoria, British Columbia, but its density could pose problems.
We have a city of 8 million people, and in Manhattan, there's probably 2 million on a business day. There's a lot of going back and forth. There's subway tunnels. There's tunnels in Central Park.
Police are offering a reward of $10,000 for any information that could lead to the suspect's arrest. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
The Prime Minister was on the defensive today during an address to the Assembly of First Nations meetings in Ottawa. Justin Trudeau and his cabinet ministers faced tough questions from chiefs about their reconciliation record, and so did some other federal party leaders. CBC's Olivia Stefanovich has the details.
In what could be his last appearance as Prime Minister before the Assembly of First Nations, Justin Trudeau stood by the pledge he made 9 years ago.
Back in 2015, I made a promise to change the approach of the federal government in regards to Indigenous peoples and First Nations. I promised that we would be there as a partner.
While he says his government is making progress, Trudeau recognized challenges.
For all that we've been able to do together, there is much more to do, and I feel the same urgency as you do to move forward.
But many First Nations leaders say they don't see that urgency.
Because nothing has changed.
You can't keep on extracting our resources and expect us to live in poverty.
When you were first elected, you made the statement that no relationship is more important than the ones with First Nations, yet your government has done everything to undermine our treaties.
Trudeau is also facing pressure to call a national inquiry into systemic racism in policing.
My son is gone.
A request made by the mothers of First Nations people who died at the hands of law enforcement.
But I am also committed to doing everything in my power as a government to try and fix this.
He says a lot of the right things, but it's not delivering on those things.
The AFN also heard from opposition leaders.
I'm joining you in your call for a national inquiry into systemic racism in policing.
Who didn't all receive a warm reception.
We can have a conversation about what our relationship should be and how your people can start packing up.
The Bloc leader booed during his first address to the Assembly.
Get out of here.
Notably absent from this week's assembly, Pierre Poilievre. The Conservative leader addressed the AFN for the first time last summer, but his office didn't say why Poilievre did not return. The Conservative Party says Poilievre has and will continue to meet Indigenous leaders. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Ottawa.
6 suspects have been arrested in a brazen daytime robbery of a jewelry store in the Greater Toronto area. The smash and grab robbery was captured on video yesterday in Markham. It shows masked men breaking store windows and grabbing jewelry. 2 19-year-old adult males and 4 males ranging in age from 15 to 17 face several charges, including robbery with an offensive weapon. Police say 4 of the suspects were out on bail. It's the second smash and grab jewelry store robbery in the same area in 3 days. And still in Ontario, 1 man is dead and another wounded after a shooting outside a home in Brampton last night. The incident was captured on video. 2 men were seen clearing snow off a car in a driveway when another car pulled up. 2 people got out, approached the victims, and the shooting began. CBC has decided to stop the video at that point. There were multiple shots fired. Police say 1 man was pronounced dead at the scene. Another was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police say they believe this was a targeted shooting. The federal government is extending the ban on assault-style firearms. Ottawa is adding more than 300 other models and variants to the list. It will also implement measures from a bill adopted in 2023. That includes taking licenses and weapons away from those who've committed violent acts.
This prohibition takes effect immediately. This means these firearms can no longer be legally used, sold, or imported in Canada, and can only be transferred or transported under extremely limited circumstances.
The announcement comes on the eve of the 35th anniversary of the Montreal Massacre, when a gunman killed 14 women at École Polytech. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is accusing the government of going after law-abiding gun owners. New research suggests a long-standing concern in healthcare remains current. Significant numbers of emergency room visits for problems a family doctor could handle. And the study says a shortage of those family doctors is a big reason. The CBC's Mike Crawley has the story.
Cassidy Allison Ray is expecting her first child. She has an obstetrician, but not a family doctor.
Calling every family doctor's office within like an hour drive of where I live.
She recently wound up in the ER for what turned out to be an ear infection.
Felt really wrong because ERs are not for this type of care. They're for emergencies, and an ear infection really isn't that, but I really felt like I had no other option.
She's far from alone. A new report shows roughly 15% of all ER visits in Canada last year were for minor conditions. For children aged 2 to 9, it's even higher, at more than 25%.
It's telling us that Canadians are having challenges accessing primary care in the community.
People are also more likely to go to the ER for minor ailments if they live in rural areas or don't have a family doctor.
Every Canadian needs a family physician. If they cannot find it, the only place for them to go is the emergency department.
We have about 70 doctors here working.
This ER chief believes people with minor illnesses are not the biggest issue facing Canadian hospitals.
The reality is I feel that those patients don't impact our wait time significantly.
That's because ER staff triage patients and put people with minor illnesses at the back of the queue. So why are the emergency rooms under pressure?
There's a lot of homelessness. There's difficulty accessing certain services like mental health. And so I think some of those issues are now manifesting themselves in our departments in a larger way than we've seen them before.
He also says the healthcare staffing crunch and the shortage of acute care beds for patients who need to be admitted affect how long you'll wait in the ER. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
From disruptive outbursts to endless texting, new research suggests kids are getting ruder in the classroom. Deanna Suminick-Johnson spoke with experts about what might be fueling this bad behavior.
This researchers' work reveals pandemic school closures didn't just disrupt kids' learning, it also made them more rude.
packing up books before a lesson is over, talking while the teacher's talking, going on your phone.
Natalie Spadafora interviewed students and teachers in Ontario in 2019 and then again in 2022. 42% of teachers surveyed reported instances of classroom incivility happening daily, compared to only 6% before the pandemic.
Individually, each behavior might not seem like that big a deal, but cumulatively, we know from teachers and students in our previous work that it is disruptive.
In Quebec, a French teachers' union surveyed around 7,000 of its members this October. 83% said they believe that rudeness has increased over the last 2 years.
We're noticing an increase in disruptive behaviors, students talking over each other, disrespectful manners, and lack of consideration also for what is being asked.
Experts say this behavior is likely linked to time spent online, which increased during the pandemic, and because some kids have not been taught that school isn't home. It has its own rules.
I think that there's a kind of lack of understanding sometimes from students about like why their behavior is unacceptable. You can't make a phone call to your dad in the middle of my class, or you can't just walk out whenever you want to go get a snack.
As for solutions, this child psychiatrist says prioritizing face-to-face time with peers and adults is key.
If we live in a world where the average child is having several hours of screen time, then we have to deliberately give them the opportunities to learn those social skills and brain development that used to just be built into society.
Some even suggest classes on empathy and civility, a word that may sound quaint, but could make for a more productive learning environment. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
Coming up, a new study suggests that there may be a possible explanation to the exceptional warmth the planet experienced last year. We'll bring you that theory after the break. Stay with us. When the global temperature soared to a new record in 2023, climate change and a powerful El Nino were the initial explanations. But they didn't account for it all. Anand Ram looks at a new factor being considered.
No question the world faced a sweltering, record-breaking heat in 2023. But the hottest mystery for scientists is why. Theories point to a number of factors. A big one is El Nino warming the Pacific. But on top of that, the sun, in a period of high activity, changes to shipping fuel, even an undersea volcano eruption. But new research says something still doesn't add up.
There was this gap, this 0.2 or so degree of global warming that was unexplained. What we found was actually it is the albedo of the planet.
The research focused on low-lying clouds, which help the Earth stay cool. They reflect a lot of solar radiation, but also let warmth from the Earth's surface pass through. Last year, researchers say some areas, the North and South Atlantic, parts of the Pacific, didn't see a lot of these cooling low clouds.
So having more reflectivity or less reflectivity basically means less or more is absorbed by planet Earth.
While 0.2 of a degree may not sound like a lot, consider that 2023 was around 1.5 degrees hotter than the pre-industrial average.
This might be another really important piece of that puzzle that helps explain what we've seen and why the climate's been so weird over the last 2 years.
And our own addition, burning fossil fuels that warm the planet, may have a lasting effect on cloud cover.
And in that case, this would be a persistent pattern that we'd expect to, stay with us as the planet continues to warm.
Even with El Nino gone for now, 2024 may set another record. And with humans still pumping greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, scientists are concerned it's adding more factors to these heated calculations. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
A powerful magnitude 7 earthquake shook parts of California today, briefly triggering a tsunami warning along the U.S. West Coast. The warning included San Francisco and the surrounding Bay Area before it was canceled. The U.S. Geological Survey says the quake was centered about 60 kilometers off the northern California coast. There are some reports of damage, and the quake knocked out power to 19,000 customers in Humboldt County. That's about 5 hours north of San Francisco. Well, we need to bring in Riley Lachek now for a look at our weather and see how things are shaping up. Riley, it has been a cool, calm day. He was here a second ago. Now he's going to be over in his spot. We're just figuring things out as we go here tonight. But it has been a cold day.
Yeah, a chilly one across the Red River Valley, Brittany, and we're looking at temperatures rising as we get through the overnight period tonight. We'll start with your dog walking forecast for Friday. I don't think Annie will mind the cold. This is Annie. Thanks, Wendy, who's actually the producer of our Radio Noon program. This is her dog. Thanks, Wendy, for this one. Talkback at cbc.ca is where you can keep sending yours. I hope Annie's ready for a little snow because we have that in store as we get into the later weekend for southern Manitoba. -9 by the time we get to the morning hours tomorrow. -6 by the afternoon. I'm hopeful that we'll see a little bit of sun by the late afternoon, so I'm calling it a sun-cloud mix, but you're ready for a cloudier day as we get through the day on Friday, and cloud cover comes back in as we get into the evening hours and -7. So we have the jet stream here, this ridge that has started to build in Western Canada. This does make its way a little further east. So by the time we get into Friday, we'll start to see some of those warmer temperatures, particularly into southwestern Manitoba. That ridge under southern Manitoba as we get through Saturday. This is going to allow temperatures really to warm up close to and above the freezing mark, especially through the Red River Valley and back into southwestern Manitoba as we get through Saturday. As we get through the rest of the weekend, we do start to see that ridge breaking down a bit. And by the time we get into early next week, we're back into more seasonal weather across both Manitoba and Saskatchewan, and even some of these pinks along the Hudson Bay coast. Those are temperatures close to -30 as we get into mid next week. So overnight temperatures look like this. Temperatures rising. So in many cases, we've already hit these lows for the overnight period, and they'll just keep rising, particularly through Brandon and Winnipeg as we get through the overnight period tonight to about -9 in Winnipeg by morning. Still a couple of flurries, maybe a centimeter of snow into northwestern Ontario, minus 13 in both Kenora and Dryden tonight. And some of that cold air along extreme northern Manitoba, minus 30 tonight into Dooley Lake. Wind chill making it feel closer to minus 38. 2 to 4 centimeters of snow tapering off through Norway House, but Island Lake, Barons River getting some of that snow overnight tonight. Another shot of snow. The beginning of this next system begins to roll through northern Manitoba as we get through Friday. Temperatures minus 11s and minus 12s through the Pas and Flin Flon tomorrow, and a mainly cloudy start to the day through southern Manitoba. Some peaks of sunshine as we get through the day, particularly in the Red River Valley, Brittany, and temperatures getting close to freezing into Westman, minus 6 tomorrow afternoon in Winnipeg.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
'Tis the season for giving. The holidays are a time that can bring so much joy to people, but for some who don't have family or anyone around, it can be difficult. That's where the Be a Santa to a Senior initiative can help. Amanda McRae is with A&O Support Services for Older Adults and joins me now. Hi, Amanda.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, Amanda, your group has teamed up with Home Instead's Be a Santa to a Senior program. So tell us a little bit about how it works.
Well, it's a pretty amazing program. It's our 17th year of being a partner with Home Instead. And A&O delivers to older adults living independently in community. And if you're interested, people can donate monetarily if they'd like to, or they can actually purchase gifts. I think we're at the point right now where we have a lot of intake. Our office looks like Santa's workshop. So we're just looking for monetary donations at this time now. But folks can donate $25 is the cost per gift. So they're baskets. And in order to kind of make this a little bit more manageable, there's 2 baskets that our clients can choose from. It's either sort of a winter wellness that has mitts and toques and tea and those types of things in it. And then the other one is a health and hygiene basket. So these are things that people really want and need, and they often will call on their own behalf and say, I would really like to receive a Be a Santa gift this year.
I love that. I love that you said it already kind of looks like Santa's workshop over there with all the gifts that has come in. That's really amazing for the beginning of December. So what exactly are the requirements? Who specifically does it help? Do you sign up, or how do you get on that list?
Right, yes. So older people living in the city of Winnipeg can call A&O, so 204-956-6440, and say that they're interested in receiving a gift. And then we have amazing people, community partners, teams, organizations, businesses, you name it, that deliver. So we just recently on the weekend had a hockey team deliver, and they went out and I think they delivered over 100 gifts to older adults living in the community, wearing their team jerseys and Santa hats. So these are U18 boys, and to wake them up at 10 in the morning to have them somewhere was a little bit of a stretch. But once they got there, they were happy, and we had amazing stories. People knocked on the door, and an older adult came and he said, "You guys play hockey?" And he said, "Yeah, we play hockey." And one of the young hockey players looked down and said, "You play hockey too?" And he said, "Yes, I used to." And so he actually had a Hockey Hall of Fame from Sport Manitoba a ring on, and he had received recognition for his time when he played with the residential school in Winnipeg.
Wow.
So that I couldn't have even planned any better, and it happened organically, and it was very meaningful from an intergenerational perspective for both the client and the players who are delivering the gifts.
That's amazing. And I really just want to touch on that because it really is about so much more than just the gift. There's that social connection. So what do you hear from seniors about how important that is?
It's really critical. I mean, we have a lot of folks who are socially isolated, and with that comes all kinds of other risk factors. So I have quotes from people that have said, it's the only gift I'll receive this year. I received it a bit before Christmas, but I'm going to wait and open it on Christmas. There's other folks that say that the card that was attached, they put it on their fridge and they keep it up all year so they know that there's someone out there that cares about them. So it's really kind of hard to hear, but the value of going out, making that delivery, even if it's a brief interaction, goes a long way and is really meaningful for folks that would be considered to be more isolated and vulnerable living in our community.
Amanda, real quick here, I've got to imagine that that list is growing every year. How many people are you guys helping?
Well, last year we delivered just over 980 gifts. This year so far, and this is just now, we're at 850. So it is what, December the 5th. So I suspect we will probably surpass last year's gift delivery numbers. So if folks are interested, please go to our website at aosupportservices.ca and you'll see under special events via Santa, and we can always use a monetary donation to sustain this going forward.
Amazing. Amanda, thank you for the work you and your team are doing, and we hope that many more people sign up to help those seniors. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Still ahead, Riley is back with a last check on our forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Stay with us. That's this year's Rockefeller Center Christmas tree being lit for the first time this year. The annual tradition goes all the way back to 1933. Kelly Clarkson hosted this year's lighting ceremony for the second year in a row. This year's tree is a 22-meter-tall Norway spruce donated by Earl Albert of Massachusetts, who planted it 53 years ago in his front yard just after he got married. He was unable to attend the ceremony due to health issues. More than 50,000 multicolor LED bulbs will light up the tree. It is lit daily from 5 a.m. to midnight until mid-January.
All right, time for your 7-day forecast. Then I have something else Christmas to talk about. So for tomorrow, temperature rises to -6 by the afternoon and then keeps rising from there into Saturday with a high of 2 degrees. Watch for a risk of freezing rain Friday into Saturday. For Sunday, we start to see the winds picking up, another risk of freezing rain. Some snow moves in from that Alberta Clipper. Generally from first thing Sunday through late Monday, 5 to 10 centimeters across southern Manitoba, but I'll keep you updated on that. Much colder air ushers in behind that in the minus double digits, -10 by next Wednesday. Christmas in Gimli is happening tomorrow. Here's some pictures of the setup from that as they get ready to unveil a market. There's going to be a tree lighting happening Friday, and that continues into Saturday as well in Gimli, which is getting itself all decorated nice and beautifully.
Love it. Sounds like fun.
It does sound like a lot of fun. Santa has lots of upcoming appearances. I'm sure he'll be making an appearance in Gimli, too.
Yes. But he's making an exceptionally big splash in Budapest. Here's your daily lift. And he's wearing goggles precisely because he's going to be making a big splash at an aquarium. And the glove, well, that's for feeding the sharks, a job that's now done from inside a cage, making dinner a more orderly affair.
But once it's been served, Santa takes a swim, gliding through the Christmas decor on the Shark Tank floor and wishing a Merry Christmas to all on both sides of the walls.
Smart to feed them first.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like something may have happened for that to arise from, but
Yeah.
everybody needs a little holiday cheer.
They do. I just wonder how that suit and the water interact and
Makes them a little heavier.
Exactly.
Not so buoyant. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow.